Kylian Mbappe has scored 40 goals in all competitions this season. In his last Champions League game, he scored his 15th UCL goal against Bayern Munich. But Real Madrid still went out to the quarterfinals for the second year running.
I did last year at the end of the season when we knew that Mbappe was going there. How is he going to balance that team? It's very difficult because you can see that I'm not going to try to find any excuses for Bellingham, but how do you play? Where do you go? What do you do?
Thierry asked that question before Mbappe ever pulled on a white shirt. His individual numbers have been impressive, but Madrid are not just out of the Champions League, they're also out of the Copa del Rey and 9 points away from Barcelona. Henry said those words more than a year ago, but what has changed at Real Madrid? What really is the problem? And was Henry right about Mbappe? When Mbappe arrived at the Bernabeu, it wasn't the usual transfer noise. He arrived as the most anticipated free transfer in football history. And in year one, he made sure nobody questioned why. 31 goals in 34 La Liga games, the Pichichi trophy, the European Golden Shoe for the first time of his career. He broke Alfredo Di Stefano's 71-year record for the most La Liga goals in a debut season at Real Madrid. He also became the first player in history to finish as the top scorer in one of Europe's top 5 leagues for 7 consecutive seasons. 7 consecutive seasons. This is not just a player adjusting to a new league. This is a player who arrived at one of the biggest clubs in football history and immediately became its best goal scorer in year one. And then year two started and it got more extreme. 40 goals and 6 assists across 39 games so far this season. 15 Champions League goals in 11 appearances. Only Cristiano Ronaldo has scored more in a single Champions League season for Real Madrid. The first player to ever score 10 or more away goals in a single European Cup campaign. Mbappe scored in the second leg against Bayern, but they still went out of the competition he was signed for. And this is where the argument lives. Not in the goals, in everything around them. Because here's what 2 seasons of individual brilliance have produced collectively. Year one with them, they were runner-ups in La Liga, runner-ups in the Copa del Rey, runner-ups in the Supercopa, quarter-final exit in the Champions League. In year two, Copa del Rey exit to a second division club, Supercopa runner-ups, quarter-final exit yet again in the Champions League, and are way off behind Barcelona in La Liga with the season running out. 2 seasons, 1 player, historic individual numbers. So the individual case is settled, but it's never been the question. Real Madrid hasn't won a major trophy since Mbappe's arrival, and that begs the question, what happens to the team around him? And that's where the data starts telling a different story. Mbappe is ranked 4th in progressive pass rate in La Liga with a rating of 235. A number that's impressive for a guy playing as a number 9. His teammate Vinicius Jr. ranks 1st on a rating of 343. In terms of offensive touches and attack and transitions, Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. are ranked 1st and 2nd respectively. Another impressive stat record. But something is wrong here. Open the lineup of any Real Madrid match. You'll see where Mbappe's starting position is. But then open the heat map and the two don't match. This is the problem Henry was pointing out. Not Mbappe's output, his location.
Kylian, more often than not, were not patient enough to stay inside as a 9. Sometimes he was going too early on the right. And so we showed, for example, he gave that ball in that game against Osasuna. And when you're in this type of situation, look at all the players that are there to play. Go, position yourself as a 9. Obviously, on the goal tonight is different. He was already there, but in that game, sometimes he was coming out of that position.
According to Henry, the problem with Mbappe is both where he goes when Real Madrid have the ball and where he goes when they don't. And this gap has cost the team in the games they don't win.
And just imagine if he had gone there, and you will understand why I show you that, because you're not always going to score goals from there or try to be, we know he can. Okay, we know he scored a lot of goals already for Madrid there, but you can score 10 to 8, maybe more there by scoring a tap-in.
Mbappe's threatening actions begin in the left half space, but they end centrally. He's drifting from wide into the box, not arriving from central positions into the box. That sounds like a technical distinction, but it isn't. It's the entire problem. There aren't any runs centrally into the channel, the presence in the box that forces centre-backs to commit, the second ball from crosses, all of it just gone. For Mbappe to have a high rating in pass progression, he's doing it away from his position, and that gap he leaves is causing an imbalance. Also, not forgetting the space he eats into, which belongs to Vinicius Jr., because Vini Jr. owns the left. Even Benzema said it. You can't put Vini on the right or as a centre forward, for where he makes the difference is on the left. He's right. Vinicius' entire threat, the dribbling, the pace, the cut inside, depends on the left flank. Move him, and you don't just lose his position, you lose him entirely. Take a look at this moment. That's what's meant by a striker running the central position. But when Mbappe takes central, it means being asked to do something he has never naturally done. Take a look at what happened when Mbappe was in the same position. Now take a closer look of both moments side by side. Mbappe has never had the instincts of a number 9. When asked a while back, Benzema said it plainly. The problem for me is that Mbappe is not a centre forward. Every time he plays for France as a number 9, he's not good. It's not his position. And this wasn't a pundit's opinion. This was a man who played the number 9 role at Real Madrid for 14 years, speaking about his own successor. Henry said it here.
Your 9 is not going, your 10-ish is going. And I know it can happen sometimes, but not all the time.
Your 9 isn't going. That line in plain English, the person listed as the striker not behaving like a striker. This is not sustainable. Bellingham running into the box to compensate for Mbappe means Bellingham is not in the space where he's most effective, which ultimately means the team loses 2 players from their optimal positions simultaneously, not just one. Bayern Munich came to the Bernabeu with Harry Kane as a true 9, making the runs, holding up, arriving late into the box, pulling centre-backs out of position, creating the space for Olise and Diaz to exploit. Real Madrid had Mbappe, the better individual player, but playing a position that isn't his, in a system that cannot function without someone doing what a true 9 does. Also, when it comes to defending, everyone knows he doesn't. When the team loses the ball, Mbappe stays high, someone else covers. Then another player covers for that someone else, and slowly the defensive structure bends, not because of one moment, but because of the cumulative weight of 90 minutes where one player's defensive floor is simply lower than everyone else's. But it seems like this has changed for Mbappe recently. Here's the thing nobody wants to say. When Mbappe decides to work, like really work, Real Madrid are a completely different team. In the first leg against Bayern, Madrid were under pressure. Mbappe tracks back, covers ground he almost never covers in La Liga, presses from the front, makes the recovery run, and for the entire second half, Madrid controlled the match. They still lost, but Madrid were a more complete team with Mbappe's defensive work. Now the second leg, same story. Madrid needed to overturn the deficit in Munich, and for the opening 45 minutes, Mbappe presses, he closes down, he drops into defensive shape. He does the things Luis Enrique asked him to do at PSG. The result? Madrid led 3-2 at halftime. That's not a coincidence, that's the answer to the question Henry has been asking all along. When Mbappe defends, Madrid are better. The system works the way it's supposed to work. The problem isn't that Mbappe can't do it, the Munich night proves he can. But the problem is that he won't do it consistently. And one player choosing when to press and when not to press breaks a system just as effectively as not pressing at all.
Te he leído que te gustaba Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan cogía de los huevos a todos sus compañeros y se ponía a defender como un hijo de puta. Tú tienes que dar ese ejemplo primero como persona y como jugador de ir a presionar. Pues claro, tú eres un fenómeno, un top mundial, ninguna duda, pero yo no me vale eso. Un líder de verdad es que cuando no nos puedes ayudar con los goles, porque el otro día tenías a 2 jugadores de alto nivel para ti y no puedes ayudarnos, tú nos ayudas en todo defensa.
Enrique said it, even the great Jordan defended. Every possession, every game. That's what separates superstars from champions. Now here's something that the data confirms that almost nobody talks about. When Mbappe plays off the left, his natural position, his progressive pass rate rises, his connection with his teammates improve. The ball moves forward more efficiently after he receives it. He creates danger from wide before arriving centrally. That's not the same player who occupies the space between the centre-backs and struggles to make the runs a true number 9 makes. And the evidence of what a true number 9 does for this team is sitting right in the Real Madrid squad. Gonzalo Garcia, 22 years old, Club World Cup Golden Boot winner last summer when Mbappe was injured and Garcia got his chance as a starting centre-forward. Scored against Al Hilal, Juventus and Borussia Dortmund. This season, he hasn't scored much, but look at what he does in those minutes. He stays central, he makes the runs in behind, he heads crosses, he occupies the space the centre-backs must defend. He is, by every definition, a centre-forward. When Garcia plays the 9, the attack has a different shape. That's what balance looks like. Henry said it before the start of the season, and the data confirms it now. The final word belongs to Mbappe's idol, the man he grew up watching, the man who wore this same shirt and scored 450 goals for this club.
Le complica porque él no sabe jugar de delantero, mi opinión. No es que no sabe, no es su posición. Claro. Yo si estuviera en el Madrid, yo le enseñaba a jugar de 9, porque yo no era delantero. Y me acostumbré a jugar de delantero.
Ronaldo made the same transition, arrived as a winger, learned the 9, scored 450 goals for this club, and looked at Mbappe and saw the same raw material with the same gap. So is this down to Mbappe? He can score and assist, the numbers prove that. He can put in the work defensively, and whether he's asked to do that or just simply deciding to work whenever he wants to, only Real Madrid as a club knows that. Ronaldo could figure that out. The question is whether Mbappe will, and what Real Madrid wants to do about it. Henry asked one question before Mbappe ever played a minute for Real Madrid. How do you balance a team around this? 2 seasons later, the answer is still the same. You can't. Not the way it's set up. The system has 2 similar players in Vinicius and Mbappe. It's asking a left winger to be a centre-forward, a team expecting one player's defensive floor to rise on demand, a club that's watched 3 managers lose authority in 18 months. Henry wasn't right because Mbappe is bad. He was right because he understood something this Real Madrid side still hasn't figured out. Talent scores goals, but teams win trophies. And right now, Madrid has Mbappe, who's hitting the numbers he was signed for, but no trophies for why they actually have him in this team.